The new Nico Robin leader in OP09 has innate banish. Does that make her a crazy strong leader? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. My name is Mobby. Today we're going to be talking about my current deck profile for the Nico Robin for OP09. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, daily duels, and deck profiles for One Piece, Dragon Ball Super Fusion World, and Union Arena. Alright, here we are. Really quick, I misprinted the leader. I need to do this again. This is purple yellow, not purple black, but you guys know. So pretty much, OP09 is coming out on August 31st. I'm recording this on August 20th. There is still around, I think, 40 to 50 more cards still to be announced, but mostly all of the SRs are out, a lot of the rares, a lot of it should just be fodder sort of reveals coming up, but I want to go ahead and share this today. Make sure to follow the channel because this is the first OP09 deck list we're doing, and I plan to do every single leader every other day leading up to the release, so this is the first one. Okay, so this deck profile, it does have a lot of Ohara synergy, but it's mostly a really good yellow deck with a lot of triggers. Let's go ahead and talk about how it works and the play style. So as mentioned, this is the alternate art that I am using. This is a custom art. There's a link down below if you guys want to print out your own card, see how it works. But this is a yellow purple leader from OP09, 5000 power with innate banish. When attacking, you trash one card from your hand with trigger, then you add up to one Dawn from your deck as rested. So it's a pretty decent ability for ramping. You're not hurting yourself like you would a purple Luffy or anything like that. It's just simply you get rid of a card. It might seem like a lot, but honestly, realistically, you're only doing this maybe 1 to 3 times maximum, depending on the different cards that you run, whether or not you have cards that you remove Dawn or not. There isn't really that much Dawn removing until you get to the late game, but it's you're usually using it once or twice in this deck, and the banish is pretty good. So let's talk about all the cards from 0 to I think 9 costs in this deck. So the first thing we're talking about is this event. You're the one who should disappear from OP06. This is a pretty staple in a lot of yellow cards that have a lot of 0 cost counters. 0 cost, you may trash one card. One of your leader or characters gets up to 3,000 for this battle. You're not usually using this effect, so probably late game where you have your hand more curated. Maybe you have a bunch of extra counters that are not 2k, not 1k, just dead cards. You're going to use this. However, if you do get it as a trigger with 0 life cards, you get the heal one from trashing one, or if you have 0 cards in your hand, you just got one for free. It's really nice. So we're running 3 of these in here because in this deck we have 17 0 cost counter characters. So I think this is a good ratio for that. Besides, you're doing a lot of trashing anyway. Next up, it's a new card from OP09. This is Nico Olivia. This is a custom art that I'm using, but the effect is obviously the same. 102. On play, give up to one of your leader Nico Robins, so this is the only leader that it can be used with right now, 3,000 power for the turn. So with a decent ability, you could use this to go for a game or something, late game, because it's 1 cost. Instead of attaching 3 Dawns to Robin, you're attaching 2 Dawns. 1 Dawn, you're attaching 2 Dawns on her, plus 1 if you want to use all that 3 mana to get the same amount, plus 5,000. However, the trigger is really good, which can only be used by Robin as well. If your leader is Robin, draw 3, discard 2. Really amazing sifting card, a perfect support. This is great. So we're running 4 of these. Next off, we're running Professor Clover. This is yet another custom art that I'm using, but the effect is the same. OP09 102 from Ohara. On play, if your leader is Robin, look at the top 3 cards, reveal and add 1 trigger to your hand and the rest to the bottom. So this is essentially a searching card. Now, if you throw this out on the field for searching, that means you probably don't have anything else in your hand. I would primarily only use this just for the 2k. If you really need a trigger, like for some reason you just drew crap, this is your last resort, but you keep it in your hand because there's lots of other things you can do. And the on-play ability for trigger is really good. You can activate the play effect. So this is great. This is another 2k to the deck. Both of these 2ks are highly playable, by the way. Next up is Capone Gang Beige, a staple in yellow decks. This is 3/3/2. Trigger. Up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters cannot attack during this turn. Just a really solid card, can get you out of a bind. We're running 4 of these. So essentially we have 12 2Ks, and these are all really amazing stuff. Now we're going to talk about Jewelry Bonnie from OP09. Egghead Bonnie Pirates, 3/4/1. When one Dawn is attached, when your opponent loses life, you draw 2 and discard 1. So this is a consistent effect that can be used every single turn. And you actually get card advantage. So if you actually get to banish, attacking with your leader while a Dawn is attached, you're going to get so much advantage over your opponent. So I'm running 3 of these for the early game. There's also a reason why we're running a good amount of 3 costs in this deck, and I'll talk about it in a bit. Next up is a new Jaguar D-Soul from OP09. This is my custom art for it. 3/5 0 cost counter just with blocker. However, if your leader is Nico Robin, you get to play this card. You play it active, so it's a really amazing trigger. There you go. It's another 3 cost card. Next up, it's a new event from OP09, my own custom art, Darishi. 3 cost, main. Look at the top 5, reveal 2 cards with trigger. Other than Darishi, add them to your hand, and the rest go to the bottom. The trigger is pretty good for drawing. Now, there's a lot of really good second turn plays in your Nico Robin deck. You have the Bonnies, you have the Jaguars, and you have these Darishis. With this, it's kind of like you're playing a Sanji's Peel-Off. You're going to be ramping up, most likely, and ramping up doesn't cost any Dawn or anything like that. So I would say, hey, if you get this in your opening hand, keep it. For your second turn, you can go ahead and activate this and attack with Banish, and then you're going to be able to get some hand card advantage while you continue ramping. So this is a pretty good card. Next up, we have Okiku's. This is from OP06, 4/6/0, so dead card in hand. However, on KO, if your opponent is 3 or less life, you heal 1, which is amazing. You primarily want to play here for the trigger, which is so good. A free play if they're at 3 or less. Also, if you have too many in your hand, you can use it as one of the trash contenders for sure, so you can ramp up. Very amazing card. You'll love to see it. Now, we're running some Namis here. So this is from OP06, and this is, or is it OP08? I think this is the OP08. Sorry, I can't read it. I messed up the thing here. But this is it. This is a new SP art from OP09 that they're releasing. So this is 5/5/1. You can trash 1 card with trigger from your hand, and there are 40 triggers in this deck. 40 triggers. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 5 or less. Then, if you have 3 or less cards in hand, you draw 1 card. The trigger is, you can use its on playability. So I think with this card, you don't want to be stingy. If it's super early and you want board advantage, if you're able to play this with a trigger, go ahead and do it, trashing a card. You don't always have to, draw 1 with a 3 or less. If you can, amazing. But I would say use it anyway. It's another really good trash contender. Next up, we have Luffy from OP07, 5/6/1. Activate main. Place this character in your trash. If your life is 2 or less, you KO a 4 or less character, then you draw 1 card. So anytime you use the ability, you always draw 1. Make sure you know that. And the trigger is pretty good. You just KO a 4 or less, running a couple of these. Now for your late games. These things are your pretty much mid games, early games, first 2, second turn, etc. Now it's a new card from OP09. This is the official alternate art 6/6/1. So it's pretty weak for the ability, but it has a counter and a really nice ability. On play, if your opponent has 3 or more life cards, trash 1 of them. So it's really nice, just instantly destroys it. And the trigger, play up to 1 3 or less character from your hand. So that's why we're running a bunch of Sauls, 1 2 3 4, and we have some Jewelry Bonnies. You don't really want to play the other 3, which is Capone Gang Beige, but the trigger there is really good. So if you're playing this deck, maybe keep the Jaguar D-Soul in your hand at all times, and then go ahead and just maybe you can get a trigger off of this, which is amazing. There you go. Woo, okay. Now, time for the late game stuff. A lot of 0 cost counters coming through. Charlotte Linlin, ST07, 7/8, amazing. Gigantic body on the board, 0 counter. Your opponent chooses one of the following. They trash 1, or you get to heal. It really depends on the matchup and if your opponent is thinking about what to do. Anytime they heal you, as mentioned, there's 40 triggers, so it's really good for you. If they want to take a free hit, it's tough. Just the thematic here. Really, really tough decisions. So I'm running 4 of these. Now, for the other 2 cards in the deck, we're running 3 of each of these. This is the Yamato from OP09 on play. KO a character that costs equal or less than the total of life both you and the opponent have together. If you have 1 or less life, then you can also heal 1. It's just a solid card used in a lot of yellow decks. Next up, it's the new card from OP09, which I think works perfectly in this Nico Robin deck. 9, 10, 0 on play. Return 1 or more Dawn from your Dawn deck to your, back to your deck. You draw 1, then this character gains Rush. The fact that you get to draw a card is amazing. The fact that you Rush for 10 is really good. And if you play this on 9, it doesn't matter if you return 1 back. You're going to be at 8. Then next turn, you're going to be back up to 10. So it really doesn't matter. So I think in this Nico Robin deck, it is completely fine to run the Rush Luffys or maybe even some of the Rush Sanjis if you don't want to play the rest of these. But essentially, these are the only purple cards into the deck. And that is the list, guys. This Nico Robin deck, it's fun because you get the ramp up for a relatively low cost of just getting rid of 1 trigger. And there is a lot of triggers in this deck. There's a lot of good OP09 cards, such as the Nico Robin mid game. A lot of good egghead stuff, which is good to just help clear the board, as well as more triggers. More trigger removal for your leader ability. Okiku's early game with Darashi is amazing. The Jaguar D-Saws will come into play by throwing out a blocker that can attack and getting him triggered out. Early Jewelry Bonnies are good. And of course, you have the 12 2Ks. This deck is pretty solid. And we'll see what happens when the rest of OP09 comes out. But I don't really see this deck changing all that much. But it is pretty good. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed. And yes, if there is, as mentioned, all of the OP09 cards yet to come out, if there's going to be anything to add, I will do a sort of a different video, maybe making another build and seeing what's going on. But yes, there it is, the Nico Robin. Stay tuned for the rest of the OP09 cards, as well as more duels of all the leaders. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.